My warmest greetings to the organizers and participants of the UPLB College of Agriculture and Food Science Futures Masterclass and Workshops. I'm very excited and fully support UPLB's initiatives to promote future literacy among its students and staff in line with the need for more forward-looking research and innovation to ensure our food security. Let me tell you about my interest in food security. This started almost 10 years ago when I studied in the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies. This is a US Department of Defense school, and that's when my interest in food security was first tweaked. And then a few years ago, I started following the debates on agricultural land use, particularly the debates between the plant-based followers and the meat eaters. On that note, I'm a big believer in a plant-rich diet. I am not a plant-based or an exclusive plant-based eater, but I feel that this is a topic that we must discuss also someday. Anyway, and then I tie that all in with the need for strategic planning through futures thinking. And as I was introduced, I am the chair of the Senate Committee on Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation, and Futures Thinking. So I try to bring this discussion on the Senate floor. So clearly, COVID has made us realize, made us more aware of the importance of food security. Many of us saw that because of the roadblocks, the food markets were closed, access to fresh vegetables. In fact, that was one of my first projects in Pilipinas in Action. We would get food directly from the north and deliver it to needy members of our society. So we all saw that with our own eyes or experienced it. But meanwhile, in other countries who have been able to prioritize food security for a while, their experience has not been as bad as ours. Case in point, we should have been more prepared for the ASF. This is not new, and this is something that we should not have been caught flat-footed on. Different futures should have been studied and anticipated. Other countries have biosecurity measures in place, and Vietnam has developed a vaccine. So, there are different examples in other countries on how they're preparing for food security. Silicon Valley has been developing re-engineered food. In the Netherlands, they have made it their target to be efficient and have a sustainable agriculture, and they are now the second largest export of agri-goods in the world. Almost 2 decades ago, the Dutch made a national commitment to sustainable agriculture, and the rallying cry was twice as much food using half as many resources. So we need to make our goals very clear and have similar goals as this. But here we are in the Philippines faced with many challenges, and I will focus on the discussion on the SDG goals. SDG goal number 1, no poverty. I need not say more. Our farmers don't earn as much, hardly earn much, and nothing compared to other farmers, and that's partly because, or mainly because, farming is a subsidized industry in other countries and it is not in ours. So where do we go from here? Other farmers in other countries have subsidized digitization and innovative equipment and so on and so forth. Even access to water. SDG 2, zero hunger. Hunger and malnutrition still hound millions of Filipinos. And SDG 9, innovation, industry, and infrastructure. We're lagging behind our neighbors in terms of their scientific and technological improvements in the area of food production, right? And obviously, I can tie this into other SDGs like health and so on and so forth, but I won't right now. Let me just point this out, these three out, highlight these three. So, meanwhile, in the Senate hearings that we had recently on ASF, I wanted futures thinking to be part of the discussion. I simply pointed out that food systems can be affected by various factors, weather and climate changes, international prices, export demands, even viral outbreaks. But these are factors that are constantly changing. They pose a threat, they don't pose a threat, they may or may not in the future. We can strategically plan for all these possible scenarios in the future that may affect our food supply, right? But whether we are or we are not, it's not effectively being implemented, and here we are faced with the ASF as if it surprises us, as if we could not have planned for it when we should have. So in order to adapt and thrive, we really need to have a futures thinking mindset. This means that all our initiatives moving forward, including research and innovations, should help us identify and prepare for all possible futures. Our investments should be geared towards making our food production more sustainable and improving people's health and livelihood. As chair of the Committee on SDGs, Innovation and Futures Thinking, this is exactly what I've been trying to do. We've had discussion with futures of food expert, and these are some of my takeaways. We need to rethink how we produce food for the next 10, 20, and 30 years. Is it going to be same, where our farmers are living below the poverty line and where our consumers are at the mercy of price consumption caused by factors that can be foreseen but are largely ignored? Now, in terms of processed foods, who is holding processors and manufacturers accountable for the quality of these products? You can say FDA, that's also my line of work, but again, it's a longer discussion. Largely, we keep producing food that are highly processed, and there are outcomes not always favorable to processed foods. What about consumption? Do we have a communication plan that re-educates people on how we should be consuming food sustainably? How much of our city-based population are consuming refined and highly processed food and not getting the nutrition that they need, right? And how much of our communities could be producing their own food in a sustainable manner through urban greening and the like? What goes into the feeds that go into the food that we eat? A little anecdote. I mentioned earlier that I won't go into all the SDGs, but one of them is the SDG on good health. Now, I follow a lot of health issues, and one of them is the importance of functional medicine. Functional medicine focuses on food as medicine. So the food you ate is directly related to your health. But some functional medicine experts are now going deeper because they've realized in their practice that the food that people eat, even when they prescribe to eat as much natural food as possible, so this would be basically a lot of plant-based food, and then protein sources would be lean meats and the like, they realize that the source of food is also the problem. So if the source of the soil is not good, then you have now a food source that may not necessarily be good for you. Again, case in point example, I recently had blood tests, and I am basically a pescatarian, and I found out that true to my eating habits, I have heavy metals. I have a high level of metals in my blood due to probably eating big fish like salmon and tuna, and also arsenic, which is found in the soil. So all my efforts in eating healthy may hopefully not go to naught, but are affected by the quality of the food available around us. So these are really important discussions that we should have. SDG 12, which is all about responsible consumption and production. I want to discuss that from a perspective of a local government, Taguig City. Many years ago, more than 10 years ago, we funded a material recoveries facility there, and we found out that a big chunk of the waste is food. So despite the communities being a mix of low end and medium, lower social class, there was so much food wastage coming out. And that's where you realize that, a lot of the poverty issues can be solved by responsible consumption. So I am so excited about these initiatives of the UPLB Futures Masterclass and Workshop because it will really help in our goal of shifting people's mindsets towards sustainability. I actually, as the vice chairman of the Committee on Finance, I included budget for pilot research on futures of food systems and food security in 4 state universities and colleges, including UP Los Baños. And I also push for funding for DOST research on the future of food production. So we have the SDGs here already as a comprehensive framework. Let's use it. In ending, I'd like to say that my goal is to give a voice to the experts in national planning. My challenge is for our experts to be able to design programs that will address multiple SDGs: poverty, hunger, food security, responsible production and consumption, good health, and so on and so forth. Let's design a whole of society approach and work together to reach our targets through more futures thinking initiatives, research, and innovation. Thank you.